Blind tennis, empowering blind and visually impaired athletes and inspiring worldwide impact. Unveiling blind tennis, the inspiring story of Miyoshi Takei. From author, Ayoko Matsui. I teach at a school for blind students in Japan named Hanawa Hokiuchi Gakuen in Saitama Pref. In 2001, I encountered blind tennis at the school for blind students. Blind tennis was the brainchild of a student at the school where I work. I started teaching it to visually impaired children in 2003. One day I came across a book called Blindness in the library at my blind school. It stated that blind people couldn't play tennis. That led me that I started to introduce blind tennis internationally. Then, in 2006 I met the inventor of blind tennis, Mr. Miyoshi Takei. He wanted to spread it all over the world. Mr. Takei was passionate about his dream, so I was inspired and decided to promote it together. He used to call me a dream guide. This video shows the footprints of blind tennis expansion out of Japan and his messages to children and players. Now, let's see his journey. The chapters discuss the overview of blind tennis, the next generation, and its legacies. Chapter 1. Blind tennis was born in Japan in 1984. Two Japanese suppliers have produced specially designed balls. Champion supplied it till March 2011, and the current supplier, Shui, started delivering after Champion. Regarding the number purchasing the balls, the top 5 countries were Japan, the USA, the UK, Australia, and Germany. This chart shows the growth of the shipping of balls. A gap between Y 2012 and Y 2013 appeared owing to the transition period. What is blind tennis? It is a sport for people with disabilities, where the visually impaired play an active role. Currently more than 30 countries worldwide, this sport began as a passionate dream of blind Miyoshi Takei. We will tell the history of blind tennis, the development of balls, and the holding of international conferences and tournaments. We will touch on the importance of the independence of the visually impaired and the attitude of enjoying tennis. I want to describe the possibilities and attractions of this sport. Blind tennis can promote self-fulfillment and international exchange for visually impaired people. It may be a chance for able-bodied to consider your participation and supports in the future. This picture is a bilateral meeting between UK and Japan in 2010 in Tokyo. We discussed the international rules. Blind tennis was introduced publicly at Tennis Day event at Ariake Arena in Tokyo in 2006. The blind players managed to control such a sponge-made ball even under windy conditions. Let's see the footprint for the promotion here. First, the sport was born in Japan, and the JTAV, the current JBTF, was established in 1990. They have been conducting the national tournaments since then. After Y 2006, we aggressively visited countries overseas, targeting the UK and East Asian countries. Some sincere people kindly supported our visit and followed the promotion in the countries. Let's see the pictures. We visited some countries for the promotion, while some countries have goodwill visited Japan to learn more about blind tennis. I will show some pictures here. Blind tennis is popular in the countries now. For example, a BCBSI in Canada introduced the sport via YouTube. The next is the footprint of the international congresses, tournaments, and other important milestones. IBTA made essential milestones, such as settling the official ball supply agreement with SHOEI in Y 2015, extending it in Y 2018 and Y 2020, and issuing blind tennis manual and classification rules and procedures. These pictures evident us the importance of a step-by-step approach. We carried it out extremely fast. Firstly, congresses. Then, we will look at the tournaments. The first tournament was conducted in Spain in 2017, and 3 Japanese winners were born. The BI men's class winner was Mr. Hirofumi Ono from Japan, who also won in the 3rd tournament in Spain in Y 2019. Now, we come into Chapter 2 regarding the next generations. In the early days, 2 enterprises strongly supported the promotion of blind tennis. They were NEC and CAO. Please enjoy some pictures of the programs for kids. They are blind or visually impaired. So, there is much less chance to exercise. They must always be concerned about all around them. Playing tennis on the court allows them to play freely without physical contact. Can you imagine their fun? I am pleased to show Takei's lecture for the 5th grade elementary school children. I translated the message into English. I hope you will be interested.
My name is Takei. I was born in 1968. I am 39 years old. I am working at a nursing home in Narima, Tokyo. I give massages to older people. Their hands and feet get stiff unpleasantly. You can move their joints to help them relax. Older people are often bedridden. Once their bodies get stiff, it is hard work for them to change clothes. It is my job to keep them flexible. I graduated from a school for blind students, a primary school and a high school in Saitama, and a junior high school in Tokyo. I returned to Saitama as a high school student. One day, I thought how nice I would be able to play tennis. I have an elder and 2 younger brothers. We grew up playing soccer, baseball, etc. I had great difficulty with baseball because I could not see the ball. I felt frustrated. I worked on designing a ball that made noise so I could hear it instead of seeing it. I had been attracted to the sound of hitting a ball with a racket, playing tennis. People who play tennis know the pleasant sound pak-kun. Then I thought, I can play tennis if I can hear the sound of the ball. In 1984, I went to a high school for blind students and researched a tennis ball specifically for blind people. I will show you the ball, so please touch it. This is a plastic ball, which is part of a toy baseball set for kids. I put tiny lead beads in it. When you shake it, you can hear a very distinctive sound. If I could listen to this sound, I could hit a ball. However, I did not have a racket. This wooden racket is for soft tennis. I cut off the grip to make it shorter. We cannot buy such a wooden racket now. I tried to hit the ball in the gym. I set up a small tennis court. I did not have a net, so I used any substitute material. And a PE teacher played tennis with me. I wanted to play a sport like able-bodied did. I wanted to play a game with able-bodied. I wanted to play tennis on the same court with them. The only thing I needed was a ball which emitted a sound. During the 3-year in high school, I did trial and error to make a tennis ball for blind people. I could not find a good ball, so I could not go forward. When I was 20 years old in 1988, I came across a ball for short tennis. It was German-made. Short tennis uses a slightly larger sponge ball. The diameter was 9 centimeters. I cut this ball in half and took the inside core out to make a hole. I looked for something other to put inside. A bell seemed ideal. But the sound was lost soon after hitting. The ball flew silently in the air. At first, I put a toy capsule in the sponge ball, but it broke when it was hard hit. I considered what could make a similar sound and examined if a ping-pong ball for blind people could use instead. Ping-pong for blind people is played on a board, rolling a ball. It has a good sound. So, I shook it after a ping-pong ball was set inside the sponge ball. It gave the preferable sound as good as the plastic ball I made at high school. I took it to the National Rehabilitation Center for the Disabled in Tokorozawa and showed it to the PE teachers. The teachers did not believe that blind people could play tennis. So, they had their doubts at first. Yet, they conducted experiments with students in the center. They confirmed that blind people could play tennis and decided to hold a tournament in 1990. This year, the game will be held on November 4th. Players from all over Japan will come from Hokkaido, Kyushu, Yamaguchi, Hiroshima, and Hyogo. A junior high student has yet to join, but high school students and adults participate. We count it as the 18th tournament this year. For a few years, the balls were all handmade, cutting a ball, picking the inside off, and inserting the ping-pong ball. It was laborious. A company in Osaka named Champion kindly started to serve the same type of ball. This became the official ball, joining each half and sealing them with tape. This ball is yellow. We also spray or paint a ball in black. We use both yellow and black balls for tournaments. It has been 23 years since I started my research, and I have participated in the national tournament for 18 years. Blind players must be blindfolded, so they cannot see anything. Partially sighted players do not have to be blindfolded. Some blind people can see the light, and some blind people can see the figures of human bodies. So, it is not fair. I suggested to a tournament committee that players in B1, a blind class, had to wear blindfolds. After that, wearing blindfolds became compulsory. It is now written in the rules book. Many first said that blind people couldn't play tennis. But the number of participants has increased. There are about 60 or 70 participants in the national tournament, of which 35 are blind. I am pleased with it. Blind people have wanted a game that can be played in 3 dimensions. It is a dream for blind people to hit a ball in the air. I am glad I never gave up on my dream of playing tennis. I am pleased to play tennis just by listening to the sound of the ball. I want to play tennis with anyone here today. A person who can't see can enjoy playing tennis with someone who can see. They can share the same court. That's impressive and inspiring. I went to England with Mrs. Matsui and others in January. Up until then, blind tennis was only being played in Japan. We introduced blind tennis to students in blind schools and those related to tennis. We demonstrated the game and asked them to play blind tennis in England. We presented them with some balls. They were getting to like blind tennis. The tennis dreams of the visually impaired in England are now the same as ours. I was pleased they understood they could play tennis if they heard the sound. In September, we visited South Korea, our neighboring nation. Students from blind schools and then ordinal tennis players joined and experienced blind tennis together. We can enjoy playing tennis, whether blind or visually impaired, not depending on our eyesight. In Japan, a player says "ikimasu" before hitting a serve, and the opponent replies "hi." In England, they say "ready" and "yes." In Korea, they say "komunida" and "na." These are the only 2 words we need to play blind tennis. Tennis for blind people is played indoors. The net is lower. The racket is shorter. For the line making, we insert a string in the center of the lines and cover it with tape. The players can recognize their position by stepping on the lines. The rules are as same as mainstream tennis. If we make up many distinctive rules, people will think that blind tennis is only for the visually impaired and might not join quickly. It will be a shame. The rules of blind tennis are the same as those of mainstream tennis. Even though a player is blind, he must independently play the game once it starts until it is over. He is not allowed to get advice, such as, "Where is a ball heading?" Go right and swing a racket. People who play regular tennis will know that such coaching is not allowed during play. It is not permitted for blind tennis either. A guide can lead a blind player to the opposite end line when he changes court. And a player can also ask an umpire in which direction the ball went beyond the line. He can ask, but nobody can tell him. Sighted people might say that it is too strict. But blind players must be independent and responsible for playing to the end by themselves. I want players to understand this. We should not just expect people to do something for us. We have to take responsibility both for success and failure. We should take responsibility for everything. Not just for tennis. You will understand after you complete your life as a student and become a member of society. You should do your best. It is the same for both the visually impaired and the non-disabled. You try for what you can do. If you've done your best and failed, then you can seek help. My high school PE teacher once said, "It is easy to give up before trying. You must try, and only then can you give up. Continue to play tennis." I still remember his words. You should not say, "I have no hope." I want you to try it again instead of, "I will quit." I hope you remember what I said and try. Only when you try you might make impossible things possible. I believe it and will continue to play blind tennis. I hope that great blind tennis players will appear someday. I am pleased to meet you today. You might think that visually impaired people have many difficulties. Yes, it is true. Some people are ill. Even though they want to try, they need help. I can do most things which you can do. I am married and live in an apartment with my wife. When cooking, I often use the grill. I grill sori in autumn. It is delicious. I like it. I can grill one side of sori and then turn it over. I have a favor to ask of you all. Can you please help them when you see a visually impaired person getting lost on the road? Please talk to him. Can I help you? Some might say, "I am all right, I can manage it." But please don't feel bad. He may be getting used to it. A visually impaired person with a cane may think he does not want to trouble you. But we are pleased that we are asked if we need help. Please pluck your courage up. Through today's experience, I expect you to make society better. I hope that you are close to visually impaired people. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Takei showed the tennis to the children after this lecture. The hitting partner was the class teacher, Mr. Kawabata, who organized the event. Chapter 3. Legacies. Sadly, Takei passed away on January 16, 2011. I took over Takei's legacy and launched a community group named International Blind Tennis Association, IBTA, on Facebook in 2013. Mr. Philippe Azor encouraged her to inherit Takei's will and supported launching the community group. Then the organization was officially set up in February 2014. The first president was Mr. Katsurada. It is now the 5th generation, and the number of registered countries has increased to 20. Takei also has something to do with former IBTA's logo mark and ball development. Mr. Mizuchi and Mr. Isohata voluntarily supported the logo mark design and ball development work, respectively. Also, we address a special thanks to Champion in Osaka, Japan, for the supply of a blind tennis ball in the early stage. Takei appreciated all people who supported him and contributed to developing blind tennis. I want to share the episode of Mr. Isohata when he first met Takei.
First, a blind person plays tennis? I could not understand why a blind person would play tennis. It was shocking to see such a blind player hitting the ball in the air for the first time. In the early days, the ball had a bell inside, but the sound stopped or was irregular, and it wasn't easy to identify where the ball was. Then we made a prototype using a completely different method like the current form, but the materials were other than the present one. We have walked a long way to improve up to today. I met the founder, Mr. Takei, for the first time and was impressed by his passionate words, saying that he was working hard to spread blind tennis worldwide but was having trouble even playing matches with the current quality of balls. I sincerely felt that I could do something myself for the ball. After dozens of prototypes and tests, I eventually reached a ball that satisfied me. I elucidated the mechanisms of how the sound was built and even screened the balls I thought could work. I brought 3 finely selected balls to further testing, and at the end of the trials, Mr. Takei and I played to fix it on the court. I remember that one of the balls superiorly passed the test. A happening occurred, probably because Mr. Takei's power overwhelmed me, and I fell on my butt, breaking all the cards in my wallet and making my muscles ache. I saw the smiles on other players' faces after they played the ball. I was also impressed by the smiles on the faces of the children when they showed me their practices and games a little later. I was moved that my company, Shui, made this ball. Mr. Takei also told me that this ball would spread worldwide, which made me even happier. Since then, Shui has continued to improve the materials and manufacturing process for more than 10 years without stopping supply. I am pleased to respond that many blind tennis players use our balls worldwide, bringing smiles to visual impairments across the globe. Hidemasa Isohata, CEO, Shui Industry Co., Limited.
Passions to all. Takei is not here anymore. But he left us the inspiring journey of blind tennis. Let's join blind tennis, which is an inclusive sport. Unless you don't give up, you can reach there. I hope you will appear as a great player or a supporter someday. Takei's dream will come true if you share it. I appreciate your attention. Thank you.